Welcome to Holding Shot, a Bowls WA podcast featuring the biggest names and their stories from the greens around Western Australia.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Holding Shot. This is the official Bowls WA podcast. My name is Aaron Clark. I'm the marketing officer here at Bowls WA, and I'm joined by Aaron Delaporte.
Yep, g'day Aaron, the other Aaron. Good to be here, and I really enjoyed that first podcast with Christina. What a great person to have on for the
Yeah,
first
it's great
show.
to have Christina on, and just say a bit about what you do here. You're an operations manager.
Oh yeah, operations manager. I think most people out in Bowlsland know me by now. I've been here 12 years, so pretty much everything off the green I'm involved with, and a little bit on the green from time to time. But yeah, got as Peter said last week, everyone does a little bit of everything, so I've got my hand in anything that we do.
Yeah, it's a bit of a teamwork here. But yeah, it's great to have you on. You'll be appearing occasionally on the podcast as well as Pete, so that's good. But enough about us. We've got a guest on today, a very special guest. We've got Doug Kelly, the president of Bowls WA. Welcome, how are you?
Yeah, morning. Yeah, so just for everyone out there, we because we've got the two Aarons within 158 Main Street, we refer to them as A1 and A2. So that's
I
just
hope
like confusion.
I'm the A1, am I?
Well, you had a choice out of Big Aaron, Little Aaron, but A1, A2 we thought was politically more correct, so that's why.
Very good.
Good. Yeah, so you've been president for almost 12 months now. How are you finding it? Are you enjoying it? Anything you want to say?
Enjoy it. Actually, I'd probably bid a few tiers higher than that. I actually love it.
Yeah.
It's a great job. It's a great role, and for lots of different reasons. You know, I think I'm a people person, and I'm surrounded by great people. We've got a really good board who are enthusiastic. They're really hardworking. They all work for a common goal. All egos are parked up and left at the door, and whether it be the board or all the staff here in Main Street, everyone's on the same page. So as everyone, whatever we're trying to do is for the betterment of bowls. So that's always the focus. And within the boardroom, I find as president, just chairing the meetings, is everyone's very much focused on solutions.
Right.
We throw a problem in the ring and it gets bounced around, and we come up with a solution. So when you've got that drive, and it's not any other thing than we'll do this because this is the best way and that's what is best for bowls, very easy to work in that environment. So yeah, so we've just got really good people just wherever I move within this industry.
Yeah, I think it's really good when there's a collective of people aiming for the same goal. It's really motivational. For me, coming into it from the outside, it's nice to see such a close group that works so hard for a common goal, which is for bowls. It's amazing how hard everyone works in terms of that, but is there any frustrations that you have? Any particular things that maybe you didn't expect, or?
Probably because I had a short role with the loss of Larry, and I guess I was serving a bit of an apprenticeship as the vice president, and so I was going through, and as much as Larry had a few health issues along the way, and I was picking up bits and pieces, and it was during COVID, so we had all these other challenges that we were dealing with, and so you didn't get exposed perhaps to the real role as such, because we were in this unknown territory. So that was a bit different. So as we come out of COVID, all of a sudden we're on a plane, we're at Broadbeach, we're at meetings, we're dealing with BA. So, that sort of sped up really quickly as to where we were. Then you're back for the nationals and meetings. And so that sort of got me on the hop a little bit about also the workload increased really quickly. But I love it. So it's really not a problem. It's not a challenge, just a very steep learning curve. The bits that you talk about things that maybe annoy me. I think there are a few. Of course, there is. No matter where you are,
absolutely.
You love it as much as I do. I think when the current one, I guess, is when we're going to trialling a later start time, and we went through the President's Forum, and we facilitated the move, but it was driven by member clubs who wanted to change the time, and then within that forum, it was resolved by the clubs that were in attendance to go for a later time rather than an earlier time. And so the biggest pushback I've had, and I've had a bit, is from people who weren't there. So presidents who weren't at that forum. Yep. So they're the ones that have pushed back. So for me, non-attendance, it means that you're going to accept the outcome of what everyone else decides.
Right.
So the moral to the story is be there and you drive the outcome.
And have your word, have your
Have
say,
say,
not
yeah,
afterwards.
so you don't have to accept
Yep.
it. So that's a frustration, but far more reward in this role than there are those sort of hiccups and challenges.
Yeah, and I think when you've got 200 clubs and 13,500 bowlers, when the association, led by yourself, are trying to make some changes for the benefit of the sport, it's not going to suit everyone, and everyone's going to have slightly different opinions. So I think from my perspective, even in my role, sometimes things aren't personally quite how I see them, perhaps, but once we make the decision as a sport, then I'm 100% with it, and I'm sure you are as well. And that's sort of what we want clubs and bowlers to be doing as well.
Yeah, that's right. And with as far as opinions go, as soon as someone's a paid up member of any organisation, whether it be a member of the football club or bowls, you're entitled to an opinion. And I respect that, and I value it, and I look forward to it. That's how we learn, and I've pinched quite a few ideas from people who have come at me, and it's really good. There's lots of knowledge out there, and I just bring it on. I want to hear it, because that's for me, that's how we shape the game, is from these ideas. And we know we have to change. We know we're in a different era, different generations, and different expectations. So we have to embrace it all, change it, tweak it, and we know out there, and Aaron, as well as I, that there's clubs that survive and there's clubs that thrive. So we don't have more clubs that thrive than survive, which was part of the reason that we threw that money out there last year. We saw some great initiatives, come back from the different clubs about how to get. Sometimes it was more feet on the green, and as we know, Aaron, more wheels on the green. That was just great.
Yeah, that Yanchu one was excellent.
Oh, it was a cracker. And you talk about things that you enjoy, and how can we enjoy that any more than being there and seeing that firsthand with Jody and the crew up at Yanship, how they put that together. It's sensational.
Really good, really good.
All right, so we've learned a little bit about your role so far as president, but we want to learn a lot more about you as a person and as perhaps
Who is
a bowler.
Doug Kelly? Yeah.
Yeah, who is Doug Kelly? So, just for a bit of a backstory, we were doing a bit of research on the men's interleague round robins and the women's, and we've started putting all that up on the website, previous winners, and I found an old program, and Ken, the CEO, said, "Oh, that's Doug's dad playing for the Avon Valley." So I guess, have you always been out in the Avon Valley, and you've got a long history of country life and growing up in the country?
Absolutely. Like, I'm fifth generation, and I've still got the original farm, and big family. But so I'm still there. So we've been there forever, and it's a long association with that region. We're still in the same place, obviously, and then sport. Talk about Dad playing bowls, and from that side of the family, and I saw that budget, and I can still remember some stories, but I don't think I can repeat them all on this podcast. But they were interesting times. Yes, Dad played bowls, and then he came to Melville and played down there for 15 years.
Oh, excellent.
And Dad was those. If there's any older people that played back in that era when Dad was there, he only had 2 fingers. He lost those 2 fingers in an accident, and then half his thumb. So, but still, I think he played 15 years of red, and back in his time at Melville, and back in Oakley and Merv Shen, back in that era. And I didn't play a lot of bowls with Dad. I played cricket, and but when the few games I did play, and with Dad, he'd talk about it was an advantage, and people would say, "Oh, how do you hold a bowl?" And he'd go, "Well, it's an advantage." And I just shake my head, because this was Dad, classic Dad. I have to concentrate twice as hard as everyone else, just hang on to it. So my concentration levels are much greater than everyone else's. So he could take the advantage out of it, not to go, "Oh, woe is me."
The positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that I probably picked up that gene on the way through. I can only see how to do it.
So what town's your farm in?
So we're in Meckering, so the Shire of Cunderden, and of course the bowling league of Avon. So we've
So were you around when the famous Meckering earthquake happened?
68. Yeah, I was
68.
Yes, 1968. The 1059.
Even before when I was born.
Yeah. So
you would have been a little fella then.
8 years of age. So so it was a public holiday. Everything falls down, and so as an 8-year-old, we got schooling was outside. We're in in a shed, in the wool shed in Meckering at the showgrounds, and life went on. And then you lived in a garage and so forth. But it was just, as an 8-year-old, we don't have the responsibility, obviously. So it was just a boy's own adventure where schooling was outside. You know, you basically just all bar living outside, and no air conditioning, no heat. You know, but it was great. It was just good fun, and that's just how we. And it brought the town closer together. Was a big thing. Took away all our numbers, but that spirit that was, you know, founded on that day remains. So it's a good, vibrant, productive little town.
Yeah. So in terms of actually getting into bowls, you talked a bit about playing cricket. I assume when the cricket sort of finished, that's when the bowls took up, or?
Yeah, pretty much. We used to have to fill in. It was such a little town, right? And I remember my first game of bowls. My uncle rang me as a Sunday. He said, and they're playing social bowls or some club event. He said, we're short. We need one more. And of course, two things you don't do in a little country town is let anyone down, let alone your uncle, right? It's just not worth the risk. So I raced in there, and sure enough, they had plenty of players, but they had another one. So that was my first game, and that's how it started. And then, as you're saying, you transition, and that's how I see bowls. It's a transition sport for some people lucky enough to take up a younger age, but for those who transition out of your crickets or contact sports or whatever, it's a great sport to keep yourself involved as a sport or in a community. So that's what happened to me, and then so I took it up from there and off I went.
Yeah, well, we've seen quite a few good sportsmen like the Brad Hoggs and the David Warapunders getting into it now, so it just keeps those competitive juices going, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it's not just that it's the social interaction that you need, and for me, I'm big on the social significance of bowls within our communities, and you keep people physically and mentally active and involved and engaged. That's really important, and as you know, as a lot of people know, we do get government assistance to run this organisation, but the money that we would save the health system alone would be insurmountable. That I'd love to be someone attach a figure to it, because we keep them out and about, and I just know I come play Thursdays down here at Aussie Park, and some of the guys that play, that they could be, if they won't do it, I don't know what they'd be doing, but they're fully engaged physically and emotionally. And the other bit that I pick up, especially more so up here, because you observe more than being fully engaged, and when I'm back up in Meckering, is the number of people you talk to them and get their backstory, and you soon realise that the bowling community is their second family.
Yep. Then
you hunt around a few others and you find out it's their only family. So, and then you'll hear them in conversation. Oh, Joe's whoever, he's in, or she is in hospital, and we'll go and visit, and I'll go Monday if you go Thursday, and so it's a community, and bowls is a community. So. Yeah, and it keeps people really engaged, and it's significantly, socially significant. As always bring that up, and attaching a figure to it. I wish I could.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I'm looking at articles and stories in bowls, a lot of it is community. Like, it's volunteers joining in, it's people building a community where they meet new people, where they start up bowls, and the social aspect of it is so strong, and it's obviously so inclusive as well. So it's people coming in is such a good thing. Especially for the older generation, as you mentioned, where they kind of need that social aspect, which can quite easily get lost. But yeah, brilliant. So can you tell me a bit more about country bowls? We'll go a bit back to your country aspect.
Right, yeah. So
what's the difference between metro and country for someone that perhaps
different? No, it's great. So country bowls is better in many ways, in the sense you have a pathway. And as much as we talk about pathways I'm involved with in the metro, the pathway down there where you play your club bowls, and then you can make the league side, and then you can make it into the zone side, and which we've got coming up in Denison on the 4th and 5th, and then from that you can make the All-Star side, and then from that we've got, say, take a Warren Holt who's in the state side, so it's a really defined pathway that they can channel through. So that's part of it. Of course, then you get down to physically playing. It's the distances are quite interesting that we travel.
I'd
and
imagine
forth,
so, yeah.
but it's all, that bus trip's the best part of the game for us quite often with our little club. But that's the thing. Both of them are really the common thread between playing metro and country is just that friendships that all get built. In the country, from playing bowls, I do, apart from getting friends and scattered from, whether it be Ginge Wright down at Albany or Matty Mitchell playing down in Albany, or in Exmouth with Malcolm Hinkley and Warren Sargentson, or Richard Coucher and guys out in, so you meet them all over the place from the way we travel around playing bowls. It's just the friendships and the business connections I've also got through it, where I played bowls on New Year's Day with a real estate guy who I've used, with my insurance broker. Just those sort of, not weird, but those sort of things that overlap, and because you play bowls against them, and it goes to another level of part goes from the bowls to friendship to business, so it goes different order that maybe, but that's how it works.
Yeah, I know the people that play in Country Week, there is a competitive part of it for the top country guys, but for probably the bulk of them, it's more about catching up with other people from other zones and leagues that they haven't maybe run into, might only run into them once a year at Country Week.
Yeah, going back to that social aspect of it, the community.
Yeah, absolutely, and as I say, it's a little bit different in the bush. When we go up to Denison, and we're live streaming that on the Saturday, which is really significant for us, and for those that'll get live stream, that'll be great. Really looking forward to that part of it. But those guys, as much as the personnel within each team will change, but you'll find the core of it will be similar to what it was the previous year. So it's just one big family, and I'm from the Eastern Zone, so it was always my favourite event of the year. It was better than Country Week because you knew these guys, you see the same people, and you catch up, and you might not have seen them for 12 months. And Eastern Zone's really tight as far as a group goes. It's great fun. I just really look forward to that weekend.
Yeah, well, some of the top bowlers, like the Warren Holts, you said, they're with all the representative, they're representing their club and their league and their zone, and then the country as a whole. They're playing lots of bowls, probably more than a lot of metro guys in some instances.
Possibly, and then we have a lot more open days, and it's a bit that I see another difference I see is, the clubs are the clubs, and they look after themselves, and that's what they have to do. That's fine, but we find in the country we have a lot more open days, so we scoot around, and you support the clubs within your league first, that. And then and so we travel, and that's really good, and there's always welcoming.
Every club sends at least one or two teams, don't they?
Absolutely.
They all support each other.
Yeah, and it's paper. Someone supports us, we support them, and it's always good. Humour's always good, and the competitions sometimes is electric. We're seeing a lot more Perth clubs, travel within. So if you're within that 2-hour radius, that pop up, it's really good.
I know. I'm out at Byford, which is on the fringe of the metro area. The retired guys, they're always looking for country carnivals because they like the atmosphere. It's a bit more relaxed. There's still that competitive element, but it's very welcoming and good. Normally, real good meals and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the lunch police are alive and well. Country. They get judged by. It's embarrassing how good it is. What they dish up is fantastic.
Yeah, the clubs pride themselves on that, don't they?
No, they do, really do. So
So we're going back to a bit about Doug Kelly. You must have some achievements in bowls. Do you have any particular things that you have in your highlight reel? Any trophies? Anything that you can think of? What's your biggest achievement? What would you say? Aside from presidency, perhaps.
I'll go just playing then. I've won plenty of singles in my little club. But singles is a horrible one to win. It looks good on the board. People can't look at that, but. If you enjoy it, but the other person hates us, so it's much better winning.
It's harder to celebrate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there much sledging involved then? If it's quite competitive in singles?
No, I don't sledge, so that's all foreign to me. Daryl Hudson would have just collapsed in his in his bed, in his lounge room, as he...
More in Pennants, there'd be a bit more sledging.
Yeah, there's a bit more sledging. So achievement. So had some, bit of league stuff, and that's good if you're playing with the mates. Had a good pairs win with Jesse Gillies, young guy who was a new bowler that won that with. And just a background on that story, we got up and we go into the last game, and we had to win, but that team could win, but not by too much, and they had to lose anyway. The stars align, we win it, and so I get up afterwards and I go, it was a bit of a Stephen Bradbury event, the way it all unfolded. And that's fine. And we're driving home back to Meckering, and had a couple of guys with us in the car, and they said, "Who's Stephen Bradbury?" so anyway, that was so getting back. I've played league, lots of league. Started last century, but I played my first league game back in 98, 9, somewhere around there. And so I've really enjoyed that journey, and we've cultured a really strong side in the Avon. Played zones, and won them. They're pretty good.
Yep.
Played some, country all-star stuff, and that's how I got the tie-up with a few guys, and had some, we cleaned up a really good stateside one time. So that was great. I think my favourite achievement in bowls was when we as Meckering got put back to second division, and we, as we're coming out of COVID, whatever year, we won it, and we had a guy in our side that had cancer, and he was terminal, and it was really sad. But we were all motivated to win it, and we did. Course. And I think that we've got a team photo. He's right in the middle of it. That one stands out the most because the motivation was not for yourself. It was for the team and for the bloke. So for Jazz, so he's just well known throughout our league and in our club. We were loved him to bits, and so that one probably sticks out the most. And then afterwards, the celebrations. These guys, when I'd come off, I'd think we'd just won 2 Premier League Thursday pennants with Aussie Park. So like I've felt all that winning thing before. For these guys, it was their first grand final, and that sort of first pennant that they had to play, and
emotions high,
and everything going through it, and just afterwards, someone did an 80k round trip just to grab pizzas and a party on, and really, just sit back really and kicking back and seeing how everyone was absorbing it all, and people got up and they spoke and let their emotions go. So for me, that team achievement that's always what drives, and that's that you hard to replace, and those emotions and that feeling and the vibe afterwards, and is it's just fantastic. So for me, that's one probably my moment in bowls that outshines of winning your first singles or anything. I think that was the best moment I've had in bowls as far as the emotion that goes with the game, because it is an emotional game.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you'll hold on to that for forever. Quite possibly, absolutely. And I think everyone else involved as well is going to remember that. It's going to be a very strong, emotional, very wholesome moment for everyone involved there. So it's a really good achievement, I'd say, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's why pennants will never die, because it's such a team, club competition, and when you do, pennant competitions are hard to win, so when you do get that ultimate glory and the celebrations that come with it are so good. Like I've been lucky enough to be in a couple, and you sort of remember them for the rest of your life. But you also did pretty well recently in the mixed pairs, the state mixed pairs with the missus. Did she carry you or did you carry her? Was it a team effort?
There's so many good stories come out of that, and funny stories. Bruce Eagles got me the best part, and we all know Bruce is one of the characters of pennants in Perth, and before the start of the final, he comes up and he has that look at Brown. I know I'm in trouble, and he points at Denise, and then he goes, "Daughter," and I go, I got him back, but I'll get that later. But that was good. We've been married for 40 years, and we enjoy playing in the same team, and you like watching each other's bowls, and Denise's state rep and blah blah blah. So it's fantastic. The best part of that was when Peter did the draw. I was in the section with Warren Holt and Clive Adams.
Geez, you had a tough section there.
So, Warren was pretty tough, other guys walk over. But anyway, all that week, so Clive's going.
I know Clive will watch this.
So Clive's batting me up.
Perhaps even get him on.
And we'd crossed paths through the week, and he said, "I don't know why you're here. You should be home practicing, you know." And because he can walk the walk, obviously, and me maybe not so much. So we get out there, we get him in the first game, and I should really colour this up a bit. But the bottom line is we beat him. So. And I've been milking it ever since. So
yeah, so
I should.
I did mention you got a few good ones in on him.
Yeah, so that was good, and I always say to Holty, I won. Yeah, we won that section, but we didn't beat Warren, so he always quickly.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it was a good journey on the way through, and we played some real quality people and quality bowlers, and enjoyed it a bit. And then we get to the final, and we're playing Justin Opie and Helen Morse, and it was just a great game. We were 5-0 down in the second set after having lost the first set, and then so our conversation for the whole weekend was just be brave. It doesn't matter, just be brave. And so we picked up the next 6 shots, win the second set, go into the last set, feathered the jack, didn't get it and didn't flush it like I needed to, and drop a 1, lose it, but. Bottom line, Bowls was the winner. It was a great weekend. We enjoyed it, and then afterwards, probably the enduring memory, apart from beating Clive, which I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but apart from that, and I don't think he should be on a podcast, just between me and you, in case he gets a chance to get me back. But and I dread the day. I've already given Pete money never to put me in the same section as him ever again in any sport, because I'll always score. But was enduring memory, but I think it was afterwards. We just lost it. Was not heartbroken at all. Was sitting up and having a few beers with Justin and Helen and just chatting about bowls, and that's a bit I remember. It was just having a really good conversation about bowls, where it is, where it needs to go, and how to get there. So that's my memory from that weekend. But
so talking about where bowls should go, like many sports, COVID, all sorts of variables happening. Sports are losing members. How do you see the sport appealing to, for instance, the younger generation? How would you attract them? How would you bring them in?
Family. So in the country, it's not that we're the font of all knowledge in the country, but we have a pathways in the country where, say, just use my little club, and then it's replicated, hundreds of times through the week. Though, is we go there and mum and dad are playing tennis or they're playing bowls.
Yeah.
So we may be in the playground and we see that, so we go, well, that's where we'll be, because that's what our parents do. That's what we'll do. That's where you learn from. So we need to have more playgrounds and bowling clubs, and I'll cop it. But that's how we need to see that it's the transition, that it's accepted, and that's where I'll end up. And that's how. So I see. Playground is important as any part of the bowling club, and not many do. I know Wanneroo, you and Clive
there's definitely a few clubs around doing that now.
Family first, and that's going to be, so it's ingrained in them that I'll end up on the bowling green.
Yeah, it's. I think that's very important because, to me, I've never been around bowls. My family hasn't been around bowls, and I think just being kind of around that just slightly, it considers, I can play bowls if I'm free this weekend, or I can go do this, I can go do that. As someone that's never been around bowls, half the time I don't even know it's there, which is when I'm going around with Peter, for instance, when I'm seeing each of the clubs, and they're fantastic facilities. A lot of them are really nice, a lot of the new ones, beautiful, and didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, that's right. So we need to market ourselves better, and that's the signage or social media and so forth. But they're really good community hubs, and they're safe. They're safe and inviting, and that's what that's a given. Usually, meals and drinks, and then if there's music while they're playing, and so some clubs are doing it really well. We talk about clubs that survive and thrive and so forth before it. So that's the way forward. You can say the next generation that don't necessarily want that commitment of playing long pennant season. They just want instant gratification. And so if you can offer that by saying, you don't have to commit yourself, but come along, and from that you'll get those who will go, well, this is for me, especially those who have come competitive sporting background.
Yep.
Because the bowls can be very competitive, and there is a pathways and we've seen a bit of that happen where we've seen whether it be good golfers in particular that have come through and gone a long way in the game.
Yeah, it's a good point. Christina, who was on episode 1, mentioned similar aspects. She was playing tennis. Her mum wanted her to be tennis professional. She wanted to be a tennis professional, and then she moved on to bowls because she loved it.
Yeah, it's those hand-eye type sports.
Absolutely.
Same applies, same principles. So we just move on. We've got a lot of events coming up on the calendar at the moment. The state singles is in full swing, and we've got the men's Interzone and the women's, which we're going to live stream for the first time, which is great. And a lot of pennant finals will be happening very soon. But the big one in WA, and we don't get this that often, is the Nationals coming to us in October. You must have been real pleased to see that happen, Doug.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's we've of course been in 23 and again in 26, and you know, it's Tourism WA came to the party and have put the money on the table to enable this to go ahead. And you know, it's from the 6th to the 20th of October. The clubs have already been lined up with where it's going to be held. It's going to be a massive event, and you know, hopefully it ends up being a festival of bowls. And I know I've got a few things in the pipeline where, apart from people being able, instead of watching on a live stream, being able to watch these superstars firsthand, you know, that for a start, that'll be fantastic. But afterwards, hopefully, you know, your Gary Willis and Karen Murphys and Alan Faulkner and some of these other ones we can take around to some of the clubs and let them interact and talk and socialise, and there's lots of other things that we can expand and get involvement and buy-in from our bowls community, because you know, it's much more fun sitting there and, you know, having watched it a couple of times, is to see these guys, what they can do is awesome, and their actions, and you know, how they go about it. It's great fun, and support your locals. I mean, some of our state, talking to some of the state guys last year, and women, they've played all these years, have never played in front of their family, because it's been on the East Coast. So for them to be at home and will be great.
I've already heard some clubs talking about getting buses so they can take everyone in a group. So I think the good thing about WA is we've had, I think our last series was in Yokine about 7 or 8 years ago, and there was a lot of rain around at that time because it was in April. But now in October we should have hopefully good weather. But I know these events are always strongly supported, so I expect there's going to be good crowds there.
Well, we were at Broadbeach in 22, and the WA contingent, because we all stick together, we had bigger crowds than what the Queenslanders they're supporting their team. It was amazing. So so we go, imagine this at home, how many people. Of course, we knew we were in the hunt back then, but we hadn't been confirmed. So now, being at home, I just really hope everyone embraces it, gets there and supports our West Australians, whether it be in the side series, you know, in the all abilities, in the, you know, in everything. And we have the Nationals there as well. So anyone who wins, or whoever wins on Sunday week, they'll be there. And
the Australian Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be able to sit there and support them. And I mean, that's, you know, I mean, one of the highlights probably of my tenure so far was April 2022. Was sitting at Broadbeach, and that Blake Mann gets gold for the singles in the Nationals that year, and then we had the fours from Mount Lawley, and watched those guys, and you're just super proud. Not the fact they won it, that was good, but how they went about it and their sportsmanship and the credibility. And because when they go away, they're representing, you know, themselves, their club, their state, and the way they carried themselves through all that, and you get to hear it. You know, there wasn't a big crowd, so you hear the comments and their sportsmanship towards whoever they're playing, and look, those guys, they got a gold medal for sportsmanship as well as for winning the event that year. Is a real credit to them all. And even the next day when they had cracking hangovers, they were still, even there, they carried themselves with a good grace. So that's, so to see them at home, it'd be great, you know, with the big crowd behind them.
Oh, for sure. And so for anyone that doesn't know, the Nationals has the under 18s, the over 60s, the Open side series, the Australian Championship. So that's all the winners of the singles, pairs, and fours and triples, and the mixed pairs, all from all the states playing. Also the champion singles, but they also have what's now called the para bowls. So that's bowls for people with disabilities. And I know, Doug, you're a big supporter. I've seen you out at our state disabilities championships. You must be looking forward to heading out to that.
Absolutely. Denise McMillan does a great job. We know that, and it's a real challenge trying to piece all that together because there's so many different, formats within it, and that they've got to do. And I am, and then also with the visually impaired, I go, been to a few of their dinners and been for their presentations and had a roll up with them once or twice. So I do embrace all of that because it's part of our bowls family, and there's no difference. It's all part of one family, and whether it be which part of it doesn't matter. So I do enjoy it. And then Jodie Nicolek from Yanship making the emerging Jackaroo squad in that discipline. How good's that? So for a new bowler, and what she's done, and it's not just what she's done on the green, it's what she's done off the green as far as promoting the game. She's a real good role model for the sport and for that discipline. So
I sort of feel like she's paving the way for other people to come with the wheelchair stuff. Having 2 wheelchairs at Yanship, she said they're available to any clubs if they need to borrow one for a little bit of time while a new person's coming into the sport. She's such an advocate for that.
She is. We're privileged to have a guy in a wheelchair, Wayne Allsop, Soapy, as we all know. In our league plays at Darren, great bowler, and just to make it more difficult, he's in a wheelchair and bowls with an arm. So, but I've spoken to him about coaching. Whether he would down the track, and I flipped off an email to Denise and spoken to some others about potential, about him being in the pathways and being able to coach, whether he wants to embrace that, and Jodie with a bit more experience may want to do it. So there's pathways for everyone. So it's great, and that's where this sport is not discriminatory. Whether it be male, female, all abilities. It's such a great sport. It's all encompassing, all embracing. It's one big family unit.
Yeah, well, you can play if you're 9 or 99. You can play even before and after that. I used to have when I was playing at WS, there'd be a guy and say, when we used to go out, say anyone can beat you and you can beat anyone. Everyone's got 2 arms and 2 legs. And then one day he got beat by a guy that only had 1 arm, so now he changed it to anyone with 1 arm and 1 leg can beat you, which is true.
It's true. Yeah, it's so true.
It's just so inclusive as a sport. Because requirements of it is, I'd like to say not a lot. So anyone can kind of join in. Of course, it takes skill. There's a lot of skill and complexity, which I'm learning. It's not just chucking balls on the green mat, but it is very inclusive.
Yeah, absolutely. So you look at South Perth with Callum Alberti, 14, playing Premier League. He's just part of the team, runner-up in the state pairs with Marcus Sear. Great story that was, and they didn't get there because of a great story. They got there because they played great bowls. But it's all inclusive, and you look at a lot of the young guys that are around the traps, and we're blessed in this state with young guys who are also quality people. They're good bowlers, great bowlers, and we're really quite lucky at the moment with that, what we're seeing coming through, and I'll see another crop coming through the 18s with your Tom Brooks and some of those kids, and Callum's still 14, he's still playing in the under 18s, and hopefully he gets to the point where he has to make has a choice between open and under 18s, but they're all good stories and great bowlers, but it's the quality people, and you'll see the selection, having spent a bit of time with Gary Willis, who's the national coach. There's a big part. They want good people playing good bowls.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a very good statement. So I'm just gonna continue the name drop that we did previously with Christina. So just need a reaction. Just as soon as I say the name, just give me what your thoughts are. Okay, so we'll start with Trevor Barron.
Trev, just a legend within the game. Just continues to give. Yeah, he's the heart and soul of Osborne Park, president 0607,
Yep.
and he's one that I chat to because I play up there, that I'll go to and chat, and he'll give me some good guidance on how he did it. Different era, I know, but just a great example of someone who gives and gives and gives.
Yeah, he's a life member of Bowls WA.
Absolutely, and deserve it.
Yeah, top bloke, Trevor.
Okay, we do another one. That was a very, very good response there. So we do Ken Pride.
Easily the best bowls CEO in Australia. Easy for me. I've got to have a good relationship with whoever the CEO, and Ken's, it's easy. He has open door policy. He's black and white, so you don't get lost in what does he really mean. He just tells you how it is. And for some people, I find that if some people's anti-Ken Pride, it's because they don't like the truth half the time, because he just tells you how it is. He doesn't have to sugarcoat it, and I need that, so I know where I'm going. And dealing with some bloke who's blown it out of some dusty paddock out in the wheat belt with some crazy ideas sometimes is difficult. It's more difficult for Ken than what it is for me, but I really value that relationship, and his knowledge is second to none. And I did really enjoy. Very respectful of how he treats us all, and it's great.
I once heard a quote that if you're the CEO of a organisation, you don't have a few enemies, then you're not doing your job properly. It's sort of it's a bit of a byproduct of the job, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And the thing about, if I was going to be CEO of anything, it would not have anything to do with sport. Because if you're one that deals with facts and figures and dollars and targets and so forth, it's easy. Albeit there's people still involved. But when you're sport, there's emotion attached to sport. And with CEO of this sport, any sport, and we have Vince Delpetre on the board, and he's Athletics West, and he'll tell you the same story. Is emotion, and it's a tough gig. So
it's like you said before, it's people's lives. It's sort of like their families. If you change something in the sport for them, people can take it personally at times.
That's what big egos.
Yeah, people definitely invest in sport, and there's definitely emotional attachment. And I think it's good that bowls has emotional attachment to it because, again, social, and
it's the passion, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to see passion in something that a lot of people come together to enjoy.
Yeah,
and it makes it better, quite simply. So brilliant. We'll do one last name drop for you. We've got Kerry Anderson.
Fits in the same mold as perhaps as Big Trev is a mentor of mine. She was actually the one that asked if I was interested to come on the board in the first place when I was appointed as an independent director. She's a bit of a go-to person. First one to ring when Larry passed away. The first one to pick up the phone and say go for it. A lot of respect for Kerry, and one that gives back. She's achieved so much, and on and off the green, and as she finished her job as president, more than entitled to walk away, if you like, and just observe from the outside, but not carry. Chairperson of selectors, and then you'll see it pop up. You'll be in Kellerberrin for a ladies interzone club, and she'll be there, and she'll be at a pennant game. She's out and about, just gives. Absolute legend of this sport in WA.
Really
She's
good.
Also a very good player, Kerry. I was going to ask you because I didn't really know Kerry until obviously in my role, and I get to interact with her. And she started off as country director and then vice president. President moved up the chain, but when she became president, it seemed like her actual bowls went to another level because she started winning everything. I was going to ask you, does being president make you bowl any better? Because it seems like it has.
No, it's definitely not. The bowls, sometimes you can't have a roll up without getting hammered uphill and down Darling. I know one day I was going up for a roll up and might have been intonations, whatever. It took me 40 minutes to get from the front door to the back door because I just got hammered all the way through. There'd been a suspension and blah blah blah. So everyone wanted a piece of me. So that's fine. That goes with the territory. I embrace it. I say, you pay.
Part of the role.
Pay the role. You pay your membership. You're entitled to. And I welcome and respect everyone's opinion. And I run with that all the time. But sometimes you don't have any me time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you're on the green
so-
playing, they sort of can't really come and give you the questions, can they? Maybe that's your relaxation phase. Well, when you're playing the ball, they can't.
No, sometimes if I have a good bowl, which isn't very often, it'll be bowl press or whatever. So I don't mind. It's all good. It's all in good fun when you get on the green and actually it's go time. Yeah. So it's good, So and I don't hide from anything that goes with the role that I've got. I understand it all.
Yeah. So hopefully you're going to be in the role for a fair bit longer. What do you see the future of the sport, and perhaps more particular in terms of the association and bowls in WA, put it that way?
There's probably a lot of aspects to that. There's on and off the green. Perhaps I'll go off the green. A couple of things is that, I'll call it A2, Aaron, but is Aaron coming on board and bringing the knowledge that you've got and giving us better social media presence, and we were doing it really well, but with your background and not being involved in the sport, I find that really good. So because you see it with the eyes open, and then about where we can, ways we can shape it and go other places. So we were doing it, but maybe with two people now doing it, it'll be better and take a lot of pressure. So there's that side of it. We'll promote our game better. I think as a business. And we're seeing lots of sponsorship. I get this feeling that people socially and financially profile us, because we're actually getting people coming to us with sponsorship now, rather than us having to.
That's good.
So I find that somewhat interesting. I mean, we've been proactive, for sure, picking up some of the sponsorships we have, but I'm seeing that. So we need to work out how we can market ourselves better understanding of our spending habits as a collective. How all our members spend, so we can go, rightio, so we can go there and see what feedback. I see that. I'm hopefully with the tourism just on the Perth Suns as I'm looking here, that hopefully that becomes the Perth Quackers in time, and we have tourism attached to that, because we go out there, it's live stream, we're getting massive audiences.
Yep.
People are getting back into travel, and the Quackers are known all over the world. Don't worry about WA or Australia, and people just don't watch. There's no limitations. I spent last night watching a bit of Lisa from Scotland, so it knows no bounds. So I see that social media presence and advertising. So I see that side of it where we can have other income streams.
Yeah.
That
social presence is definitely so dominant at the moment. A lot of other associations, businesses, all sorts are reaching onto that platform and reaching out. I think that there's a lot of perhaps missed opportunities in bowls, which I think needs to come up. This is kind of why the podcast is here. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear all these communities getting together, because it's such a beautiful thing, and it only reaches that community, and I think it should spread out a lot more. Yeah,
there's so many great people in bowls, isn't there?
Absolutely.
And it's so diverse.
That's right. And then we're having some big moments. The Christina Christie, that's bigger than an AFL goal after the siren grand final day.
Yep.
That story, and people say where they were, they saw it, and I've had people who don't play bowls talk about Christina. That moment, and that's etched in their mind, and it's probably got people into the sport because of it. We've got Cody doing great things. I was talking to him last night, actually. He was going out for a roll, and about he's just about of no fixed address at the moment.
Yeah, he's all
I don't know
over
where
the
he's
place.
going to wake up tomorrow. That's those stories, and I'm sure he'll be seated here at some stage. And it's a great story if you can nail him down for long enough at the moment.
He's definitely on our list.
Great story. We've got lots of men that are around and about. So, so that's, and perhaps on the green we're going to see that gender thing change. I have some personal views on how we should go about it, but maybe this might not be quite ready for the platform that maybe I shouldn't be doing it here, because it's not what I think as an individual, it's what we do as a collective. So I see there's different ways of going about all that, but so I see it as a sport that we're a sport in transition. Again, we spoke about transitioning into play, but we need to be, we talk about our strategic plan, more ways, more bowls, more ways, more often. We speak about that, and we're doing that, and we're promoting clubs and giving them the opportunity to go out and using their funds to go out and do different ways. So we need to do something. If we don't change, we're doomed. So we'll slowly, that's a sunset curve. It won't hit the water, but on the other hand, we've got this social participation that's logarithmic in its shape, and it's not just a WA thing, and it's not just a bowls thing. We say that when we do our BA stuff, we're seeing it's the same story wherever we go, same thing. And then you talk to people in other sports, same thing. They want participation, they want the fun, they want the gratification, don't want the commitment that goes with it. So we just need to, you can go shun it or embrace it, we just need to embrace it. And you might see that pennants won't die. It'll keep on dwindling. Yeah, Normal Bowls, that's really important. And so the community hubs need to sell that a lot more, get people in there, keep the clubs going, and it's the clubs that, and not everyone's going to like this comment, I know, but we have the clubs who see themselves as a bowling club that has a few functions, and then we see the other clubs that see themselves as a function centre who plays bowls. So depending where you sit, one has, with that financial drive they're getting from using their facilities for financial gain and sustainability, will enable the bowls to go on for a lot, forever. So that's for the clubs to decide, and Ken will use this phrase, is as Bowls WA, we do not sign up one single member. It's for the clubs to go out and drive that. We'll enable and help and do whatever we can, but that becomes the ownership of the club to work out how they can get more people within it. So they need to share within clubland, how they go about it. So, so Bowls has got a future, and there's enough passionate people and enough feet still on the green. They've just got to go. We've got to have people with vision in the club.
It's got to reach out as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
So,
I think you're right in terms of not just bowls, but all sports kind of going for a bit more of a casual aspect in terms of playing their sport, because younger generation, everyone's got so much at their fingertips nowadays. There's so much media, there's so much entertainment to consume. People aren't just, they haven't got as much free time because they're so procrastinated on other platforms, so to speak. And as you said, all sports are getting hit by that. There's so much entertainment out there, and I think it's very important to kind of reach out and show that this is also an option there for everyone.
All right, so I might get you to finish with a final word or a final question. So if you were walking down the street later today, you've got your Bowls WA shirt on, and you run into someone and they say, "Oh, I'm not a bowler. Why should I join a bowling club, or why should I play the game?" What would you tell them?
It's not just about the game. That's part of it. It's about joining a community, and you get lost. You can be surrounded by people, but not be part of a community. So you move yourself into a community that will embrace and want to engage with you, and sport. And the bowls is not just a byproduct, so obviously an important part, but you'll find you may just enjoy it. Bring your family, bring them into a safe environment, and that would be probably the whole thing is a community that's safe, is friendly, and bowls is a sport that crosses all divides as far as any ability. So that'd be part of it, I think, is just welcome into our family.
Yeah, everyone's welcome.
Everyone's welcome. Get here, so you'll enjoy it. You'll be surprised.
Brilliant. Well said, Doug. Thank you very much for coming on. That's about time, I reckon. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Aaron, for joining me as well. I'm sure I'll see you a bit more on here. Brilliant. So just remember, everyone, if you have any funny stories or anything you'd like us to discuss, or any suggestions on who you'd like to see as a guest on future podcasts, you can email in at podcast@bowlswa.com.au, and that's podcasts@bowlswa.com.au. So make sure to put a subject in there. If there's no subject, I won't be able to read it. So for instance, if it says guest suggestion, just say podcast guest or podcast story, for instance, if it's a particularly funny one you want us to discuss, or just something interesting that's happened on the green. Thanks again for joining us. That was episode 2, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Holding Shot podcast. You can subscribe on all your usual podcast platforms or find us on YouTube under Bowls WA. For more bowls related content, head to our website at bowlswa.com.au or follow us on social media at Instagram or Facebook under Bowls WA. Until next time, good bowling everyone!